Hello, darlings. Today we are talking about Gene Key 26, the sacred trickster. We are in this energy from December 8th to December 14th. Today that I'm recording is actually December 11th, and this is episode 111. So that's pretty cool for me. Um, I spilled some wax on my computer, so the things have changed a little bit now. I'm noticing on some of my settings. And my phone's on loud, so let me go ahead and take care of that. What's interesting is that noise, that harp noise that just came up. I don't know if my AirPods picked it up where you guys could hear it, but it is the Triple Flame app, and that is the app by the Gene Keys. And it's actually the one I'm using right now to see the transits and to look at the dates. So it's one I highly recommend, and clearly it wanted to be recommended because it's drawing attention to itself. It's also 444 right now, so I have it set to go off at certain times, certain key moments of my day to remind me to breathe. And I love the app because it has these little beautiful sayings with it. So it says it's time for a pause. It's better to be screwed up and aware than perfect and pretending to be aware. Yeah. So this key moves from the shadow of pride to the gift of artfulness and the city of invisibility. Invisibility. This week we contemplate Gene Key 26. This is a mystic and potent Gene Key, which is about having an impact without the need for ego and grandizement. Can you do something powerful this week and remain invisible? This is the true mark of the divine trickster. So there's the question of, do you need credibility for what it is that you do in the world for others? So I have a bit of a somber energy today, as I've been actively contemplating this gene key, and I'm very aware of the Sagittarius energy. I have a lot of Sagittarius energy in my chart. I have a extensive, something like that, past with Sagittarius energy in partnership. And this energy is the life's work of my ex. So it it's one that I have summoned to me clearly in a big way this lifetime to teach me through tremendous suffering, and joy and experiences. And I've experienced this energy as extremely harsh and manipulative and seductive. And I think when you experience this gene key through the line 5 as well, if you know someone who has the fifth line in their, somewhere in their chart, and the 26 is also on that, so 26.5 somewhere in their design, it's like a double whammy because the fifth line is seeking power and control, and the 26 has the potential to be this manipulative trickster. And I do want to give the caveat that manipulation is actually not necessarily a negative word. It's what you do with the manipulation, what the intention behind the heartbeat behind the manipulation is. We could say a sculptor manipulates his medium or her medium to create a statue or to create a pot or a mug or some sort of art. So manipulation itself, it's the heart behind it, it's the intention behind it. So um, this key has the potential to be extremely beautiful. It connects to the sales channel 2644 in human design that moves from the spleen to the willpower center. And the 26 is coming out of the willpower center. And so, um, yeah, I have been feeling a lot of darkness around this contemplation, as certain memories are brought back to my awareness of times where I did the dance with the trickster. And believed in the story and how great it felt at the time and how blind I was at the time. And just using it not to, while it is painful and I would be lying and pretending I'm not a human and separated from my human emotion if I pretended it wasn't affecting me emotionally. And also, I have an awareness above that or around that that's seeing in and having compassion and empathy for me and that version of me. Um, I am this version now who has gained discernment and wisdom because I was that version then that was unaware and pliable and naive. And what's interesting though, as I speak about her, me, that version of me, I have the sadness that's been coming up is she is dead. And there is something that is so beautiful about the innocence that she had. And I think I don't have regret, but I miss her. I I feel empathy for her because that innocence, it had this purity to it, and it made it really susceptible for a low frequency like this to easily manipulate and ultimately take and siphon that innocence and that light. So I have a lot of compassion for her and I miss her sometimes. And I often think of her and attempt to call her back, invite her back into my world. And I've attempted to create a world where her energy is actually safe, where she can trust and be free and floaty and um, brought back to many conversations where that energy in me was not only manipulated and I allowed it and I played my role. I am aware of that. But it was also shamed and put down as if it was bad to be floaty, airy fairy, light, trusting. And so there's a part of me, the protector in me, that's reparenting her and letting her know that that is a good quality. That the issue was in the decision of who to allow access to that energy. And so that's where the wisdom of discernment, and in my situation, in my circumstance, the lesson had to be experienced with my physical vessel, tasting, touching, and experiencing it in that way. That was what my soul requested and needed, clearly, because that's what I manifested and participated in. So this key also is really intimate to me, not only for those reasons, but also because it is my unconscious midhaven. And so when you look at your human design, you'll see two sets of information, the black and the red. The black comes from your conscious birthday, the one you're very familiar with. And the red information is unconscious information. It comes from your soul birthday. So for me, that's February 23rd. And that is what creates that unconscious or design side. And that is where I have all of my planets in a certain position and a certain gate. And my midhaven is Sagittarius there, as well as in my conscious side. The gate, though, in my unconscious side is the 26.1. And so that season of my life brought me fully brought me into my priestess path. So for this, I am eternally grateful for. And for that relationship alone, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because the amount of souls I've been able to touch, because the beauty of this key and the alchemy of the relationship awoke something in me that was required in order for me to fulfill that part of my destiny. So, um, okay, let's flow with this 26. I listened to a beautiful call on the Gene Key Clubhouse today, and there was a nugget from someone who had the 26 as their life's work, actually 26.1, and they shared this little piece that I wanted to begin with. Well, 10 minutes in. There is something exquisite that happens when you live with the liar. You find the truth or you don't survive. So, this 26 energy invites us to look at where we are lying and where we are tricking ourselves, where we are being tricked, where we are being dishonest, where our willpower is out of alignment. So, let's begin with the shadow, pride. I'm going to go straight into the repressive nature and the reactive nature. Repressive is manipulative. The 26 shadow can be really sneaky. When pride manifests through a repressive human nature, it becomes manipulation, but not in an obvious way. This is covert manipulation. These people manipulate others by putting them down. Or use guilt and shame as subtle weapons. Often when these patterns are acted out unconsciously, which means that such people rarely feel accountable for their actions or the effects they have on others. The 26 shadow uses its natural cunning to make others feel bad or inferior. Behavior patterns rooted in fear. Pride that is rooted in fear always leads to manipulation. It is a simple and lethal equation. Reactive nature, boastful. The more upfront version of pride is boastfulness. This is the pride that we all know so well as ego. All lower frequencies are inherently isolating. To boast is to try and draw attention to oneself, to render oneself more visible. When someone is boastful, they do not realize that their acts or words have the reverse effect of their intention. There are many ways of boasting, but both consciously and unconscious. One of the most obvious is seen in displays of personal wealth, power, and property. While the higher frequencies of the 26 gene key naturally draw positive recognition, the 26 shadow and all its displays draw jealousy, resentment, or at worst, inspire greed. These people suppress great anger, and when it inevitably explodes, it manifests as the ugliest form of pride and creates a strong repulsion in others. I think one thing I just want to add is it's extremely helpful to understand, and if you're a researcher like me, do this. If not, don't bother. But to understand your attraction to past relationships and perhaps look at the key and look at the shadow and the gift in the siddhi and accept that that was medicine your soul requested to strengthen you, to align you, to reveal something to you. And so this is why I believe that this key is so emotional for me. It's been almost a year now, almost, that I've been completely out of this energy after being in it around it for 6 years. And this year has been an extremely freeing year where I've recognized how much of the shadow had suppressed parts of me that have always been a part of me. And there's been a deep uh, healing with myself and me, and how much forgiveness was required because I made that contract. I chose to let those parts of me go in order to accommodate or appease or allow certain energies to be around me. And so, um, yeah, it's really, really deep. So if you're an investigator like me, I think that's a really healthy way. I find it extremely healing. These are my diaries, and at no point have I promised to show up perfectly perfect in any way. I yawn on here, I sneeze on here, my audio doesn't work on here, I cry, and I'm honest. And a lot of times I'm contemplating and processing in the moment. So these are very unpolished, raw videos, and that was a part of my commitment to myself. That was the permission that I gave myself around this commitment. So this is healing for me. So if I hope that it is healing in some way for you guys in your own way, and I think that's a way to apply it to yourself. And also, you can easily get someone's gene key, their life's work gene key, maybe not necessarily the line, without needing to get their time of birth. Usually, if you have their day of birth and their year and their month, you can understand and see what gene key their life's work was about, what their sun sign was. Um, so let's go into artfulness, the gift. The 26th gift celebrates your ego without self-judgment and in full awareness. When you first come in contact with your higher purpose in life, you will most likely experience it inside as a subtle intention. The more you listen inwardly, the more deeply you will realize that this intention lies behind everything you do and say in life. Your attitude about this intention determines the success of its manifestation in the world. At the shadow frequency, you respond to this intention through your pride and thus distort its manifestation by trying to preempt and force it. At the gift frequency, your attitude invites a higher wave band of light into your DNA. This more refined frequency catalyzes new microprocesses inside your body. For one thing, your immune system becomes stronger and your general level of health improves considerably. When this 26th gift is activated, your thymus gland engages at a higher level and some curious things occur throughout your being. The first thing you may notice is that you begin to feel physically and emotionally warmer on the inside. The higher functioning of the thymus gland releases a soft vibration through your chest area that brings with it a wonderful feeling of open-heartedness and warmth. I do believe cacao, this is why cacao is such an important part of my work in the world. Anything that opens the heart is a part of my purpose, literally a part of my career, my midhaven. That thymus gland. And the more I've been listening to this week, I've been reminded of the thymus gland aspect. And so I'm really excited to dig into it. And they were talking about it on the Clubhouse call today too, about how infants and babies and children actually have the most developed thymus gland, and it's as we age it seems to decrease and diminish, and I want to find out why. I'm not educated in that at all, and it's really, like, as you can tell, I'm like, my nerdiness is like, I want to get my hands on it and figure out why, and recognize ways we could maybe help it stay vital and how that might benefit us, and blah blah blah. Okay, here we go. This word manipulation is another bête noire in the spiritual domain. However, as long as manipulation is open and honest, it can be a beautiful thing. Art is a subtle form of manipulation, as is music. Human beings can be moved from lower frequencies to higher frequencies through manipulation, and this is where the 26th gift excels. It lets you know you are being manipulated so that you can give in and allow yourself to be swept away, or reject what is being offered. It is the game for the 26th gift. Through this gift, your manipulation, your own ego, you manipulate your own ego in order to manipulate someone else's ego. The difference between the frequency of the shadow and the gift is that when you are operating from the 26th shadow, you are effectively consumed by your own ego and its voracious need to feed off of success, recognition, and dominance. When you are manifesting the 26th gift, you are not identified with your own ego. It is simply something you use, like a costume you put on before a show. And that is why the 26 is represented by the fox, the cat and dog mix. the elegance and the elusive, mysterious delicacy of the cat, the feline energy, and the tenacious, aggressive, dominating, powerful force of the dog. The fox embodies both. And so it's the trickster, it's the shapeshifter, it's the one in the shadows. It doesn't need to be seen if it doesn't want to be seen. I could go on and on about this, but I think I'm going to leave the fox alone. Uh, there's an interesting, for those of you that are intimately close to me, you know the tie to the fox and the 26 for me, beyond what the gene keys have spelled out. So it's just really fascinating. I would really, really encourage you to think about, very much so, the 26 energy as the fox. So let's talk about the cinnabar field. That's the siddhi, invisibility. And I wrote down here because I had to research it. The Chinese, the cinnabar, for their language, it translated to vital energy stored in the body, like the elixir field. So the cinnabar field, it's that chi. So invisibility. And we can see how artfulness is building this bridge into invisibility, into that manipulation that needs no credit. Um, the 26th city of invisibility is a very unusual manifestation of the higher states of consciousness. Invisibility at this level can mean many different things. The ancient Chinese Taoists had another special name for this 26 gene key, referring to it as the Great Cinnabar Field. For the Taoists, cinnabar was a substance that represented the mercurial aspect in alchemy. The qualities of Mercury or Quicksilver are the qualities of the 26th city. In this respect, Mercury represents the ability to become one with your environment, to camouflage yourself so as to appear invisible. This is the difference between the embodiment of my will and thy will, which was mentioned earlier. This 26th city dissolves all sense of individual will. The city dissolves all sense of individual will, which is why we can always see the complete opposite in the shadow, which is pride, which is all about me, 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 me. Did you see me? Do you get me? Do you recognize me? Am I paid? Am I laid? Yeah, the city dissolves all sense of individual will. Everything in the cosmos is driven by a single turbine, and surrender to this impulse renders the individual ego invisible. Not just your own ego, but everyone else's ego as well. The whole game just falls away. One manifesting this city stands nowhere. These beings cannot be pinned down to a single concept. Wherever you look, they are there, and whenever you try and pin them down, they are gone. This is the meaning of invisibility in this context. It refers to one who has become one with existence. The great cinnabar field is the energetic grid that links all aspects of existence. It is the quantum ocean of fluctuating, interchangeable energy and matter, and it is the play of the waves of existence upon this ocean. One who becomes master of this ocean is one who can move within the grid without separate existence, one in whom God is at play. How beautiful. So today I decided to pull out my Dare to Be Divine book, and it's another book by Richard. The book I was reading from is the Gene Keys Bible. I like to fondly refer to it as, and it's also written by Richard. So we'll go into the city in a new way in the Dare to Be Divine book. That is just a book on the cities. The Earth Grid. We come now to the mystery known as the Great Cinnabar Field. The Earth is a grid of light, of invisible line of force, like acupuncture meridians. These ley lines converge on places of power. Here in Britain, one of these energy centers is called the Grail, one of the greatest centers of the New Jerusalem. It was William Blake who uttered those famous lines, and did those feet in ancient times walk upon England's mountain green? The answer is yes, those feet did indeed come here. New centers will appear around the world as the money begins to move towards the great vision. New temples will be built. These will not be the same kind of temples as in the past, temples used for worship. These will be practical temples for the education of the future humans, with new eco-housing and new ways of doing things. This will occur in small ways at first, but then the movement will build more and more around the globe. Clairvoyants can already see the new temples along the grid lines of the Great Cinnabar Field just waiting to be built. Here in Britain is a seat of enormous ancestral energy in the form of money. The USA was built out of this ancestral money. This is the energy bank. The 54th and 53rd Gene Key Programming Partnership in the Codon Ring of Seeking concerns this correct transmutation of money. In our body, the 26th gene key represents the thymus gland. It releases T cells, which clean the body by eradicating negativity. Globally, these cells are locations on the Earth's grid, and we operate collectively out of them. The ascension taking place through the Earth's grid is happening everywhere. Initiates are being drawn to invisible forms as yet unbuilt. The new world exists already on the lattice of these invisible dimensions. We need only visualize and bring it into form, dare to ascend. So in this book, he really takes it to a big picture level and invites us to think about the key beyond our human relationships and ourselves, really. Um, so I love that. And he touched a little bit more on the thymus gland, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna sink my teeth into that, and I hope you'll be mindful this week of the pride and how you can be artful and maybe kiss and touch that invisibility. I think about that sometimes. How could I be of service without needing any credit? And when I feel tension rising up in my body, why is that? Why do I need credit before I do the thing? You know, that's a tough one. I think that's a tough one. I love being of service to people, but I very much so love being served. And I love those that I love, knowing that I love them. And therein lies pride and my humanness. And I accept that. But it's an interesting thing to contemplate. What would it feel like to be a fairy in the night that just served a need and didn't need to know it was received, loved, or appreciated? Interesting contemplation. I love you all. Happy Gene Key 26, and I'll see you soon.